Here's something nobody tells you when you land a job. The actual work? That's maybe 40% of your day. The other 60% is context switching, rereading your own emails, writing that one status update for the fourth time, and pretending the meeting could have just been a message. I spent years in that loop. And I want to be very clear. This is not a hustle culture pitch. I'm not telling you to grind harder. I'm telling you there's an entirely different way to operate now, and most people at your office have absolutely no idea it exists. Because in the last 18 months, I started running experiments on myself. Real ones. Tracking time, output quality, how many revision cycles a piece of work needed. And what I found honestly surprised me. Let me be specific, because vague productivity claims are a dime a dozen and I have zero patience for them. I worked like this. Open VS Code with the Dracula theme at 11 p.m., drafting a technical summary that needed to pull from 3 different Confluence pages, a Jira backlog, and a meeting transcript from 2 weeks ago that I definitely didn't take great notes in. That used to take me 2 hours. Not because I'm slow, because assembling context manually is genuinely brutal. Now, here's where it gets interesting. I started feeding that same raw mess, notes, transcript, links, into Claude with a really specific prompt. Not summarize this. Something more like, you are a senior technical writer. Here's the context. Write a 2-paragraph status update for a non-technical stakeholder with 0 jargon. First draft, usable in 8 minutes. Not perfect, but usable. And that's the keyword I kept landing on. Usable. So let's break down where AI actually moves the needle. Not in a theoretical sense, but in the I do this every Tuesday sense. Writing. This is the most obvious one, and people still undersell it. I'm not talking about having AI write your emails wholesale, because honestly, that's how you end up sending something that sounds like it was drafted by a very enthusiastic HR chatbot. What I actually do, I write the raw, ugly first draft in 5 minutes. Messy, bullet points, half sentences, whatever. Then I paste it into ChatGPT or Claude and say, clean this up, keep my voice, tighten it. The output is usually 80% there in one pass. 2 passes and it's done. What used to be 45 minutes of staring at a blinking cursor is now a 12-minute loop. Research is where I think most people leave the most time on the table. I know what you're thinking. AI just makes stuff up. And yes, that's been real. Hallucinations are a legitimate concern, and I'm not hand-waving that away. But here's the actual workflow that keeps that in check. I use Perplexity AI for initial research because it cites every single claim with a live source link, not footnote theater, actual clickable URLs. I verify the 2 or 3 claims that actually matter, let the rest fill in context, and suddenly what used to be a 90-minute research rabbit hole compresses to 20 minutes. And this is for real professional work, competitive analysis, market sizing, technical documentation, the stuff that actually ships. Then there's communication. Specifically, and this one might hit different if you're in any kind of client-facing or cross-functional role, drafting responses to difficult messages. Not ghostwriting your personality, more like having a second pair of eyes that doesn't panic. I paste in a tough email, tell Claude the context, and ask it to give me 3 different response angles. Direct, diplomatic, and let's close this loop without a meeting. 9 times out of 10, one of those 3 is exactly what I needed but couldn't see because I was still emotionally attached to the situation. I hear that objection, and I get it. There's a very legitimate question underneath it about authenticity and skill atrophy. If I always use AI to polish my writing, does my actual writing get worse? I ran this one in my head for a long time. Here's where I landed. AI is a tool, like Grammarly is a tool, like a calculator is a tool. The 6th grade teachers who said you won't always have a calculator in your pocket were factually wrong, it turns out. The skill that matters now isn't grinding through tasks manually. It's knowing exactly what to ask, how to evaluate the output, and when to throw it out and start over. That judgment, that's yours. AI doesn't have it. You do. And here's the second objection I want to address before it forms in the comments. This only works for knowledge workers. Okay, partially fair. But the range is wider than people assume. I've seen AI tools being used for shift scheduling optimization at a mid-sized logistics company in Ohio for first-pass code review on embedded systems projects. for drafting SOPs and construction project management. It's not just for the person with 14 browser tabs. The context changes. The leverage doesn't. Let me give you the actual stack I use, because just use AI is advice as useful as just eat healthier. Specific tools. ChatGPT 4.0 for general reasoning tasks and back-and-forth conversation when I'm still forming an idea. Claude 3.5 Sonnet, specifically sonnet, not haiku, for long document work, nuanced writing, and anything where tone really matters. Perplexity for live research with citations. NotionAI, if your team already lives in Notion. It's native, it's fast, and it means the output lands directly where your work lives instead of another paste and format cycle. And GitHub Copilot if you write any code at all. Even basic scripting, even SQL. Setting up Copilot in VS Code felt, and I genuinely mean this, like putting on glasses for the first time after squinting at everything for a year. The thing these tools share, and this is the actual insight, is they all compress the distance between the raw idea and the usable output. That's it. That's the whole game. Here's the trajectory I see, and I want to be clear, this is a projection, not a prediction. The professionals who figure out how to work with these tools, not just use them, but genuinely build them into how they think, are going to operate at a level that's difficult to compete with manually. That's not a threat, it's just arithmetic. The gap between I tried ChatGPT once, and it gave me garbage, and I have a prompt library that I've refined over 6 months for my specific job role, that gap is entirely learnable. It's not a talent thing, it's a habit thing. And habits are just decisions that got made repeatedly until they stopped feeling like decisions. Start with one task, the most annoying, most repetitive thing on your list. Build a prompt around it. Refine it twice. See what happens. That's the entire starting point. Turns out the 10x thing wasn't a myth, it just needed the right setup.